Let's start with a content warning. I am going to be talking about sexual assault, and also content warning, there's no science in this. This video is going to be about politics and feminism and about whether or not you should vote for Joe Biden. I'm sorry. I actually did want to do a video about the science of politics, about third-party candidates, about whether or not Bernie Sanders helped Trump win the federal election in 2016, but it's honestly way out of my area of expertise. Politics are complicated, y'all. Did Bernie bros cost the Democrats the election by staying home or voting third party or even voting for Trump over Clinton? Some analysts think so. Some don't. The problem is that this isn't something we can study in a lab with controls and double blinding. All the experts can do is ask people, for instance, how they would have voted if things had been different, and then try to nail down whether or not that's actually how that person would have acted. I'm not saying that people are lying. I'm saying that people don't even know themselves. Would I turn out to vote for anyone who isn't Trump? Yes, I say yes. But when the day comes, maybe I have trouble getting out of bed and standing in line for hours to vote for someone I'm not excited about. Maybe I change my mind at the last minute when everything is more real. Maybe I get hit by a car on the way to the polls. The other science-y political question that's long been on my mind is whether or not votes for third-party candidates help push the country further left or right. I have a lot of progressive friends who insisted back in 2016 that they absolutely would never vote for Hillary Clinton because they wanted to send a message to the DNC to show the country that better things are possible, to push people to be more progressive. Did that work? Again, it's kind of hard to say. We ended up with the worst possible choice for president in Donald Trump, whose actions now have led to the unnecessary death of thousands of Americans due to COVID-19. So first you have to figure out if ending up with this buffoon in office did make America more progressive, and then whether or not it was worth it. Are we more progressive? Well, back in 2018, in the midterm elections, we did get a blue wave, or a blue tsunami, as some said, that led to Democrats grabbing 40 new seats and taking back the House of Representatives. On the other hand, for the 2020 election, Americans pushed every progressive candidate out of the Democratic presidential nominations and finally ended up with Joe Biden. If you like Joe Biden, that's great. But he was one of the most conservative choices as someone who stripped bankruptcy protection from Americans just prior to a recession, someone who supported the anti-choice Hyde Amendment up until last year, someone who grilled Anita Hill and helped torpedo her sexual harassment claim against Clarence Thomas, and someone who has pledged to veto Medicare for all. He pledged that in the middle of a pandemic wreaking havoc on Americans. I think it's fair to say that Bernie Sanders did not manage to make the 2020 elections any more progressive than the 2016. If anything, Biden is far more conservative than Hillary Clinton. So yeah, it's complicated. We have more progressive representatives in the House, but we are headed for an absolute shit show of a presidential election. And now that Sanders has officially dropped out, I'm seeing all of the same fights springing up on Twitter as I saw in 2016. People saying, basically, I refuse to vote for anyone but Bernie because the DNC has made a huge mistake. And then others saying, if you don't vote for Biden, you will be responsible for Trump winning re-election. Which one is right? Which way should the rational progressive go? Which way should the ethical humanist go? Do you stay true to your ideals, even if that leads to 4 more years of Trump? Do you choose the lesser of two evils and live with the idea that you voted for evil still? There's one aspect of Biden I haven't mentioned yet. That's his sexual assault accusation. Tara Reid worked as a staffer for Biden back in 1993. She says that he pressed her up against a wall, put his hand under her blouse, and then put his hand up her skirt and digitally raped her as he tried to kiss her. You don't have to believe her if you don't want. Many people won't. Just like they didn't believe Christine Blasey Ford when she said that she was sexually assaulted by Brett Kavanaugh, and she had loads of evidence to corroborate her story. They didn't believe her. They didn't care. They nominated Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, and then Ford had to move to a secret location to live for a while because of all the death threats she got. That's just how we treat women in America. That said, there are a lot of people who do believe her, and a lot of the people who believe Tara Reid are rape survivors as well. And that's why it honestly really bugs me to see people I respect saying things like, you have to shut up and vote for Biden or else you personally are responsible for 4 more years of Trump. Not voting for Biden is unethical. Here is what I find to be actually unethical. Telling a rape survivor that she has to vote for someone that she thinks is a rapist. Like, imagine telling Tara Reid to her face that if she doesn't vote for her own personal rapist, she's responsible for 4 more years of Trump. Could you do that? And if not, then why would you do it to millions of other people? Because for many people, every rapist is their rapist. For the record, I also feel similarly about people who can't vote for Biden because of his opposition to universal health care. People are dying every day because of a lack of access to affordable health care. And I'm not going to tell their surviving family members that they're morally required to vote for someone who has said he will veto Medicare for all. I saw a great tweet the other day about voting. Voting isn't marriage, it's public transport. You're not waiting for the one who's absolutely perfect. You're getting the bus, and if there isn't one to your destination, you don't not travel, you take the one going closest. That's a superb metaphor, but honestly, if the bus doors open and the bus is being driven by your rapist, I don't think anyone would fault you for just waiting for the next one. If you're wondering, I will be voting for Biden in the fall because I know that he will be less awful than Trump. Plus, maybe he'll pick a great VP and then die. I mean, if Trump dies, we just get Pence. Talk about out of the frying pan and into the fire. But I won't be shaming other people for choosing not to vote for Biden, even if they hate Trump. Because I don't know how Biden has personally affected their lives, and there's no logical reason, there's no scientific support for me to say that it's their fault if Biden loses and we get more Trump. It's complicated. If anything, it's the fault of Trump, of Trump's racist base, of the conservatives who turned a blind eye to Trump's fascism, of the liberals who worry that topics like giving healthcare to poor people, like nearly every other industrialized nation on earth, is just too much too soon for America. And most importantly, it's the fault of Joe Biden, who should maybe at some point learn to keep his hands to himself.